Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
You want to try Jai Om Vishnupad?
Go on, please.
Okay. Jai Om Vishupad Paramahans Paripacharya Asto Tarasta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishupad Paramahans Paripacharya Asto Tarasta Shri Srimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय. नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोधाम की जय. वृंदावन धाम की जय. मथुरा धाम की जय. मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय. जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. गंगामयी यमुनामयी की जय. तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय. समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Jai.
Jai, Jai, Jai. Thank you so much, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu, and thank you, Mukesh Prabhu, for leading Kirtan, and welcome to everyone for Caitanya Caritamrta reading with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami, who it seems has not shown up yet, but maybe he shall. In any case, he's resting his voice, so he's counting on us to read and comment, etc. So tonight we're picking up where we left off, which is with the Adi Lila, chapter 7 and verse number 6, I believe, is where we're starting tonight.
Yes, number 6.
Yes, so very much, of course, looking forward to hearing everyone's readings and thoughts, and hopefully Maharaj will show up. But I'm sure he would want us to continue even if he doesn't show up. So thank you again, and Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Hey, Mukesh Prabhu, that was a nice tune, the Hare Krishna mantra. Okay, text number 6. We are reading from Caitanya Caritamrta, Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 6. Panchatattvatakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktyakhyam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. Let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Shri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Purport. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the immediate expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his brother. He is a personified spiritual bliss as Satchidananda Vigraha. His body is transcendental and full of ecstasy in devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is therefore called Bhakta Rupa, the form of a devotee. And Sri Nityananda Prabhu is called Bhakta Swarupa, the expansion of a devotee. Sri Advaita Prabhu, the incarnation of a devotee, is Vishnu Tattva and belongs to the same category. There are also different types of bhaktas or devotees in the platform of neutrality, servitude, friendship, fraternity, and conjugal love. Devotees like Sri Damodar and Sri Gadadhar and Sri Ramananda are different energies. This confirms the Vedic sutra, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Suryate. All these bhakta subjects taken together constitutes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna himself. He came as a devotee and in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and also the bodily complexion of Sri Radharani also. And the way it described here is very nice. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then that's Bhakta Rupa. Nityananda Prabhu is Bhakta Swarupa. That's the immediate expansion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like Balaram. And Jayadvaita Prabhu, the incarnation of a devotee. All these three are Vishnu Tattva. Then there is a Shakti Tattva, and then the devotee. That's Gadadhar and Srivas. Okay. Anybody for text 7 now?
I'll read.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Ekala Ishvara Advitiya Nandatmaja Rasika Shekhar. Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure, is the supreme personality of Godhead himself, the supreme controller. No one is greater than or equal to Sri Krishna, yet he appears as the son of Maharaj Nanda. Purport. In this verse, Kaviraj Goswami gives an accurate description of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by stating that although no one is equal to or greater than him, and he is the reservoir of all spiritual pleasure, he nevertheless appears as the son of Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda Mayi.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's something that in just a few words, we get insight into the fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead enjoys relationships above and beyond anything that apparently is described in many of the world's different religious traditions or spiritual traditions that don't have this kind of intimacy even remotely possible. Generally, it's all awe and reverence, or more basically, fear of God, fear God, follow his laws. And that, of course, is there, but in the higher realms of association and servitude, there are these different relationships. And they're so nectarian that Krishna participates in different ways. He becomes the son of his devotee. So very wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Number 8.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, there's a question in the chat box that I can
go ahead.
repeat. It says, does anyone know why we chant verse number 6 as part of Mangala Charan sometimes and at festivals?
Oh, yes, that reminds me. That's true, right? We do recite this Panchatatvakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam. I think this verse is a key verse for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the reason we recite. Okay, number 8. Rasadi Vilasi Vraja Lalana Nagara Arayat Yata Sab Dekha Tandra Parikara. Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme enjoyer in the Ras dance. He is the leader of the damsels of Vraja, and all others are simply his associates. The word Rasadi Vilasi, the enjoyer of the Ras dance, is very important. The Ras dance can be enjoyed only by Sri Krishna because he is the supreme leader and chief of the damsels of Vrindavan. All other devotees are his associates. Although no one can compare with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Godhead, there are many unscrupulous rascals who imitate the Ras dance of Sri Krishna. They are Mayavadis, and people should be very wary of them. The Ras dance can be performed only by Sri Krishna and no one else. This is very nicely explained that Krishna is a supreme enjoyer, and we are all meant to give him the pleasure.
There's a comment by Maharaj in the chat box. Says people do what they want. It was about the verse, chanting of the verse number 6.
Yes. Okay. All right. Next, I would call for Survi Mataji.
Oh, before that, Maharaj also says no harm about the chanting of the verse, I guess. Okay, text number 9. Say Krishna Avatirna Sri Krishna Chaitanya, say Parikara Gana Sange Sabadanya. The self-same Lord Krishna advented himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all his eternal associates who are also equally glorious.
Very nice. Next one, please.
Oh. Ekale Ishvara Tattva Chaitanya Ishvara Bhakta Bhava Maya Tanra Shuddha Kalevara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the supreme controller, the one personality of Godhead, has ecstatically become a devotee, yet his body is transcendental and not materially tinged. There are different tattvas, or truths, including Isha Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and Shakti Tattva. Isha Tattva refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who is the supreme living force. In the Katha Upanishad, it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme eternal and the supreme living force. The living entities are also eternal and are also living forces, but they are very minute in quantity, whereas the Supreme Lord is the supreme living force and the supreme eternal. The Supreme Eternal never accepts a body of a temporary material nature, whereas the living entities who are part and parcel of the Supreme Eternal are prone to do so. Thus, according to the Vedic mantras, the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Master of innumerable living entities. The Mayavadi philosophers, however, try to equate the minute living entities with the Supreme Living Entity. Because they recognize no distinctions between them, their philosophy is called Advaitavad, or monism. Factually, however, there is a distinction. This verse is especially meant to impart to the Mayavadi philosopher the understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Controller. The Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead, is Krishna himself. But as a transcendental pastime, he has accepted the form of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, comes to this planet exactly like a human being, some rascals consider him to be one of the ordinary humans. One who thinks in that mistaken way is described as mudha, or foolish. Therefore, one should not foolishly consider Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an ordinary human being. He has accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, but he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there have been many imitation incarnations of Krishna who cannot understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself and not an ordinary human being. Less intelligent men create their own gods by advertising a human being as God. This is their mistake. Therefore, here the words Tanra Shuddha Kalevara warn that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body is not material but purely spiritual. One should not, therefore, accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary devotee, although he has assumed the form of a devotee. Yet one must certainly know that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, one should not misunderstand his pastimes and place him in exactly the same position as Krishna. It is for this reason only that when Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as Krishna or Vishnu, he blocked his ears, not wanting to hear himself addressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a class of devotees called Gauranga Nagari, who stage plays of Krishna's pastimes using a vigraha, or form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a mistake that is technically called rasabhas. While Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to enjoy as a devotee, one should not disturb him by addressing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you. Aujananti ma mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. When Krishna descended on this earth 5,000 years ago, people thought he was just like one of us, one of the human beings. So, and they took him as an ordinary person. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, these people are mudas. They don't understand my position. And the way Prabhupada described Krishna, he always said the Supreme Personality of God, just for us to realize that every time we say Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. So this is nice, because that way we don't make any mistake considering him as a human being. Okay. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Any question?
There's a question in the chat box by Ekendra Prabhu. It says, this verse is especially meant to impart to the Mayavadi philosopher the understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller. But wouldn't Mayavadi philosophers misunderstand this verse anyway?
If they want to understand, but they want to make everybody the same. And,
Maharaj comments, one who's determined to misunderstand is likely to succeed no matter what. And Mukesh Prabhu says, very confidential details of pastimes of Mahaprabhu. Lord reveals only to whom he wants to. Is this correct?
okay. Text number 11.
Right, Bill, I had a question in the chat
Sorry.
box.
Yeah, sure.
I'll read it, I guess. I just wanted to jot it down. So I'm quoting from the purport, yet one must certainly know that although Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, one should not misunderstand his pastimes and place him in exactly the same position as Krishna. And then I say, this was very surprising to read. I thought we are supposed to accept Mahaprabhu as Krishna in all respects. I understand that Mahaprabhu is in the role of a devotee, but how is it misunderstanding to place him in exactly the same position? What am I not understanding here?
I felt the same way when I read that.
I think Srila Prabhupada elaborates on that or specifies by giving the example of the Gauranga Nagaris, how they mistakenly worship Mahaprabhu exactly as Krishna in Krishna Lila pastimes.
Okay.
And Mahaprabhu appears as a devotee and essentially a preacher of Krishna consciousness. I mean, Rupa Goswami says, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya, Krishna Chaitanya. So, there's that, but I think it specifically, or particularly in this case, refers to those who would misplace Lord Chaitanya's mission and mood.
So in other words, we have to respect the role that he is adopting himself and worship him in that way. Not like, oh yeah, we really know you're Krishna, so we're going to act like gopis and have conjugal feelings towards you and whatever.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maharaj
Yeah,
has responded.
Oh. Sorry.
Maharaj has responded to Mukesh Prabhu's question. Yes, non-devotees will only get the externals. And Ekendra Prabhu says, so the verse is meant for Mayavadis in the curable category, not the lost causes.
Okay, Tulsi Priya Mataji.
One moment, please.
Sure.
Text number
11.
11.
Yes.
Okay. Krishna Madhuryera Eka Adbhuta Swabhava Apana Ashwadite Krishna Kare Bhakta Bhava. Translation: the transcendental mellow of conjugal love of Krishna is so wonderful that Krishna himself accepts the form of a devotee to relish and taste it fully. Purport: although Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, he has a special intention to taste himself by accepting the form of a devotee. It is to be concluded that although Lord Chaitanya is present in the form of a devotee, he is Krishna himself. Therefore, Vaishnavas sing, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahyanya. Radha and Krishna combined together are Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as Shri Swarup Damodar Goswami has said, Chaitanyakyam prakritam adhuna tadvayam chaikyam aptam. Radha and Krishna assumed oneness in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Number 12. Ithe bhakta bhava dhare Chaitanya Gosani Bhakta Swarupa Tantra Nityananda Bhai. For this reason, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Teacher, accepts the form of a devotee and accepts Lord Nityananda as his elder brother. This is straightforward. Mukesh Prabhu, next.
Bhakta Avatar Tanra Acharya Gosani Eitina Tattva Sabe Prabhu Kari Gai. Sri Advaita Acharya is Lord Chaitanya's incarnation as a devotee. Therefore, these three tattvas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityanand Prabhu, and Advaita Gosani, are predominators or masters. Gosani means Goswami, a person who has full control over the senses and mind is called a Goswami or Gosani. One who does not have such control is called a Godas or servant of the senses and cannot become a spiritual master. A spiritual master who actually has control over the mind and senses is called Goswami. Although the Goswami title has become a hereditary designation for unscrupulous men, actually the title Gosani or Goswami began from Sri Rupa Goswami, who presented himself as an ordinary grahastha and minister in government service, but became a Goswami when he actually elevated by the instruction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Goswami is not a hereditary title, but refers to one's qualifications. When one is highly elevated in spiritual advancement, regardless of where from he comes, he may be called Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityanand Prabhu, and Sri Advaita Goswami Prabhu are natural Goswamis because they belong to Vishnu Tattva category. As such, all of them are Prabhus, predominators or masters, and they are sometimes called Chaitanya Goswami, Nityanand Goswami, and Advaita Goswami. Unfortunately, their so-called descendants who do not have the qualifications of Goswami have accepted this title as a hereditary designation or a professional degree. This is not in accord with the Shastric injunctions.
Yes. Thank you. So
There is a
go ahead.
comment. There is a comment from Maharaj, like it's Gosai, like Bengali. Actually, the N is silent. It is where we say Goswami in Sanskrit, where Gosai in Bengali. Thank you, Maharaj.
Again, in this verse, it confirms that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Acharya, they are in Vishnu Tattva category. Okay, number 14, Madhupati Prabhu. All right, let's see. Who else? Okay. Praveen Prabhu, you want to read something? Text number 14. Oh yeah, Venkatesh.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. I need some time to open the verse. Can somebody else take?
Sure. Number 14, right? Ek Mahaprabhu Ar Prabhu Dudai Jan Duhi Prabhu Se Sabe Mahaprabhu Charana. One of them is Mahaprabhu and the other two are Prabhus. These two Prabhus serves the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu all belongs to the same Vishnu category, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is nevertheless accepted as supreme, and other two Prabhus engage in his transcendental loving service to teach ordinary living entities that every one of us is subordinate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the other place, in Chaitanya Caritamrta, it is said, Ekala Ishwar Krishna Ara Saba Bhritya. The only Supreme Master is Krishna, and all others, both Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva, engage in the service of the Lord. Both the Vishnu Tattva as Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita, and the Jiva Tattva, Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, engage in the service of the Lord. But one must distinguish between the Vishnu Tattva servitors and the Jiva Tattva servitors. The Jiva Tattva servitor, the spiritual master, is actually the servitor God. As explained in previous verse, in the absolute world, there are no such differences. Yet, one must observe these differences in order to distinguish the supreme form of subordinate. Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabhapratya. So we have to just remember this verse very nicely, that only Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality Godhead, and everybody else is his servitor. Even Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu, they belong to Vishnu Tattva category. Even though they belong to that, they still serve him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay. Number 15. Okay, let's see. Venkat, you ready?
Yes, I can read. Thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
Eitina Tattva Sarvadaya Karimani चतुर्थ ये भक्त तत्व आराधक जानी. The three predominators, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu, are worshipable by all living entities. And the fourth principle, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu, is to be understood as their worshipper. Purport. In its Anubhasya, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, describing the truth about the Panchatattva, explains that we should understand that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a supreme predominator and that Nityanand Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu are his subordinates, but are also predominators. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, and Nityanand Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu are manifestations of the Supreme Lord. All of them are Vishnu Tattvas. The Supreme and are therefore worshipable by the living entities. Although the other two Tattvas within the category of Panchatattva, namely Shakti Tattva and Jiva Tattva, represented by Gadadhar and Srivas, are worshippers of the Supreme Lord, they are in the same category because they eternally engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord. So here Prabhupada is trying to elaborate on the true tattva or aspect of the Panchatattva individually concerning. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu, they are directly the Supreme Lord and the manifestation of the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada says they are Vishnu Tattva. And the other two members of the Panchatattva, that represented by Gadadhar and Srivas, so they are Shakti Tattva and Jiva Tattva. And they eternally engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is how we can understand the five personalities in the Panchatattva, and they have different roles. Thank you.
Right. Go ahead, number 16.
Okay. Shrivasadi yata koti koti bhakta gana shuddha bhakta tattva madhye tan sabara ganana. There are innumerable pure devotees of the Lord, headed by Srivas Thakur, who are known as unalloyed devotees.
Yeah, Srivas Thakur, the unalloyed devotee. Tulsi Priya Mataji?
If Maharaj has his hand raised, I don't know if that's intentional or not. Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj says in the chat box, Srila Prabhupada pointed out that the Vishnu Tattvas are on the Lord's right and the energies on his left. The energy is always on the left. Like Srimati Radharani, Sita Devi, etc.
Left of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Shri Krishna. Right. Okay.
But Vishnu is on the right, like Balaram.
Interesting. Okay, next, Tulsi Priya Mataji. Oh, Maharaj says something.
On the cover of the first abridged Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Shall I read?
Srila Prabhupada said that his name should go on the left of the graphic of the Lord. Energy is always on the left.
Yeah, this is something new. I didn't know that. Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, Tulsi Priya Mother.
Vivasadi yata koti koti bhakta gana Shudha bhakta tattva madhye tansavara ganana. Translation: There are innumerable pure devotees of the Lord, headed by Srivas Thakur, who are known as unalloyed devotees.
I think we are at text
17.
number 17.
17.
Oh, 17, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Gadadhara Panditadi Gadadhara Panditadi Prabhura Shakti Avatara Antaranga Bhaktakari Ganana Yanhara. The devotees headed by Gadadhar Pandit are to be considered incarnations of the internal potency of the Lord. They are confidential devotees engaged in the service of the Lord. Purport. In connection with verses 16 and 17, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains in his Anubhasya, there are specific symptoms by which the internal devotees and the unalloyed or pure devotees are to be known. All unalloyed devotees are Shakti Tattvas, or potencies of the Lord. Some of them are situated in conjugal love, and others in parental affection, fraternity, and servitude. Certainly all of them are devotees, but by making a comparative study, it is found that the devotees or potencies who are engaged in conjugal love are better situated than the others. Thus, devotees who are in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in conjugal love are considered to be the most confidential devotees of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Those who engage in the service of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and Lord Advaita Prabhu generally have relationships of parental love, fraternity, servitude, and neutrality. When such devotees develop great attachment for Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they too become situated within the intimate circle of devotees in conjugal love. This gradual development of devotional service is described by Sri Narottam Das Thakur as follows. Goranga balite habe pulaka sharira, hari hari balite nayane bhave nira. Arakave nitai chand karuna karibe samsara fasane mora kabe tucha have. Should be singing this properly.
Yes.
I can't remember the tune right now. Vishaya chadiya kave shudha have mana, kave hama hiraba Shri Vrindavana. Rupa Raghunatha pade haibek akuti, kave hama bhunjava Shri Yugala piriti. That was not any better. When will there be eruptions on my body as soon as I chant the name of Lord Chaitanya? And when will there be incessant torrents of tears as soon as I chant the holy names, Hare Krishna? When will Lord Nityananda be merciful toward me and free me from all desires for material enjoyment? When will my mind be completely freed from all contamination of desires for material pleasure? Only at that time will it be possible for me to understand Vrindavan. Only if I become attached to the instructions given by the 6 Goswamis, headed by Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, will it be possible for me to understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. By attachment to the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one immediately comes to the ecstatic position. When he develops his love for Nityananda Prabhu, he is freed from all attachment to the material world, and at that time he becomes eligible to understand the Lord's pastimes in Vrindavan. In that condition, when one develops his love for the 6 Goswamis, he can understand the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. These are the different stages of a pure devotee's promotion to conjugal love in the service of Radha and Krishna in an intimate relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Very, very nice.
Shara has a question in the chat about the positioning of the deities. It says, cool, what about Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra?
Could you expand on the question, please?
It's about how, the energy is always on the left. And Vishnu Tattva's on the right. And then Maharaj says, Srila Prabhupada said something about that too.
Mukesh Prabhu, your hands up.
Yes, Prabhu. Actually, I wanted to understand this, where in the purport, Prabhupada says that thus devotees who are in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Lord Godhead in conjugal love are considered to be the most confidential devotees of Lord Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But those who engage in the service of Lord Nityanand Prabhu or Lord Advaita Prabhu generally have relationship of parental love, fraternity, servitude, and neutrality. So just I wanted to understand that, like, is this a, like, for example, one who serves Lord in Das Dasya Rasa, for example, Lord Hanuman or Arjuna for that matter, like they are happy and satisfied in their own service. So like when Prabhupada says that, like, most confidential um, devotees have the conjugal love, so I'm not able to understand this.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
I think in Nectar of Devotion, isn't it said that the conjugal rasa sort of contains all the other rasas? So whatever intimacy there is in fraternal rasa or parental rasa, it's also there in conjugal rasa, whereas conjugal intimacy is not included in parental rasa or fraternal rasa. So you can be as intimate as you can be in a fraternal rasa or a parental rasa, but it doesn't, by the definition of the relationship, you can't have that the kind of intimacy you would have in the conjugal rasa. So by an objective study, you can see that the conjugal is the most confidential, the most, because it has everything else contained in it.
You want to read what Maharaj said?
Maharaj says that all the relationships are absolute, but still there are gradations.
Yes. Okay.
Also, Maharaj answered Shara's question about Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra with what Prabhupada said. Jagannath and Jagannath and Baladev surround Subhadra because they are the older brothers. And Praveen Krishna Prabhu says, Govinda Mataji shares, someone asks if the deities should be repainted so as to be refined, since it appears they were painted hurriedly. Swamiji replies, no, Jagannath's beauty is in the crudeness of design. This colorful simplicity is the beauty of Jagannath. And just see how they are riding on the chariot with Balaram on one side and Krishna on the other, and their sister Subhadra is sitting in the middle between them. Krishna and Balaram are protecting her from all harm. I would like that the boys in our movement should protect our girls, just like Krishna and Balaram are protecting their sister Subhadra.
Okay. I would like to call for Madhupati Prabhu. Number 18 and 19.
We can just go ahead. I'll have to open up the words or something.
Oh, sure. No problem. Okay. We'll be ready when you open it up.
No. Just go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sure. All right. Who wants to do next?
I'll read.
Okay, please.
Yan Sabaloya Prabhur Nitya Vihar, Yan Sabaloya Prabhur Kirtana Prachar, Yan Sabaloya Kare Prema Aspadan, Yan Sabaloya Dan Kare Prema Dhan. The internal devotees or potencies are all eternal associates in the pastimes of the Lord. Only with them does the Lord advent to propound the Sankirtan movement. Only with them does the Lord taste the mellow of conjugal love. And only with them does he distribute this love of God to people in general. Purport. Distinguishing between pure devotees and internal or confidential devotees, Sri Rupa Goswami in his book Upadeshamrita traces the following gradual process of development. Out of many thousands of karmis, one is better when he is situated in perfect Vedic knowledge. Out of many such learned scholars and philosophers, one who is actually liberated from material bondage is better. And out of many such persons who are actually liberated, one who is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered to be the best. Among the many such transcendental lovers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the gopis are the best. And among the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the best. Srimati Radhika is very dear to Lord Krishna, and similarly, her ponds, namely Shamakund and Radhakund, are also very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in his Anubhashya that among the 5 tattvas, 2 are energies, Shakti Tattva, and the 3 others are energetic, Shaktiman Tattva. Unalloyed and internal devotees are both engaged in the favorable culture of Krishna consciousness, untinged by philosophical speculation or fruitive activities. They are all understood to be pure devotees, and those among them who simply engage in conjugal love are called Madhurya Bhaktas, or internal devotees. The loving services in parental love, fraternity, and servitude are included in conjugal love of God. In conclusion, therefore, every confidential devotee is a pure devotee of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoys his pastimes with his immediate expansion, Nityananda Prabhu. His pure devotees and his 3 Purusha incarnations, namely Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Chirodakashayi Vishnu, always accompany the Supreme Lord to propound the Sankirtan movement.
Yeah, this is something interesting. The 3 Purusha incarnations, Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, always accompany the Supreme Lord to propound the Sankirtan movement.
Right. And 2 are energies. That would be
Yes.
Gadadhar and Srivas.
Mm.
I believe Maharaj mentioned this in a class or 2 ago. 2 of them are Shakti Tattva.
Yes. And just like Tulsi Priya Mataji mentioned, all the other rasas are included there, combining in the conjugal love. Yes. Okay, next.
Mukesh Prabhu has a question in the chat box. So the Sankirtan movement is direct part of the pastimes of the Lord. Externally, it may seem so ordinary, but so dear and intimate. Is this correct understanding? Maharaj says for sure.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, and Ekendra Prabhu says, regarding Srila Prabhupada saying, they are all understood to be pure devotees, and those among them who simply engage in conjugal love are called Madhurya Bhaktas, or internal devotees. I'm reminded of Sadhuputa Prabhu recalling Srila Prabhupada saying on the topic of science preaching, worship of Radha Krishna is our private affair. Our real business is to defeat these rascals.
Okay. Now I see a Kaunteya Prabhu here. Okay.
Prabhu,
Yes.
I would like to nominate Amina to read.
Yeah, sure, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Next 20. Se panchatattva mile prithivi asya purva prema bandharera mudra ughadiya panche mili lute prema kare ashwadhana yata yata piye trishna bade anukshana. The characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu came with his associates of the Panchatattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. Purport. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is called Mahavadanya Bhattara, because although he is Sri Krishna himself, he is even more favorably disposed to the poor fallen souls than Lord Sri Krishna. When Lord Sri Krishna himself was personally present, he demanded that everyone surrender unto him and promised that he would then give one all protection. But when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to this earth with his associates, he simply distributed transcendental love of God without discrimination. Sri Rupa Goswami, therefore, could understand that Lord Chaitanya was none other than Sri Krishna himself, for no one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead can distribute confidential love of the Supreme Person.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, he broke open the most confidential part, which Krishna did not do it. He demanded everybody, Sarvadharman Paritaja, Mamekam Sharanam Brajo. And then I'll give you the understanding. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had no condition at all. He broke open the store of Krishna Prema and gave it to everybody undiscriminately and distributed. No distinction, high or low, anybody. So that's why Hare Krishna movement is so important, and everybody can take part in there.
Ekendra Prabhu has a question. In the analogy of breaking open the storehouse, what does the seal represent?
I guess it was hidden. It was sealed. Nobody can open it. That's how I look at it. Sealed.
Maharaj says, Yoga Maya Samritaha.
Panchatattva Prabhu.
I was thinking of how when Krishna comes and manifests his pastimes, he's killing the demons left, right, and center. When Mahaprabhu displays his pastimes, it's in a different mood. I mean, at one point he's ready to kill Jagai Madai, but he doesn't. When the Buddhists come with a plate of disgusting foodstuffs or contaminated foodstuffs, the Lord arranges for Garuda to drop the plate on their heads. And then he makes them all devotees. So Krishna's in a different mood, in a different mood as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's wonderful to behold.
Thank you.
I was also thinking from the purport, it says that when Lord Krishna himself was personally present, he demanded that everyone surrender unto him. But Lord Chaitanya came and he just kind of gave love of God to everyone, without that demand, like demanding the surrender. So I was thinking that could also represent the seal, because that's like from the verse, it says Krishna, like his, the storehouse was present in Krishna's pastimes, but it was sealed.
Yes. Thank you. So we are at that time again. And I would say, Krishna Kaunteya Prabhu, please lead the Kirtan today. Very well.
You'll have to turn up your microphone, Krishna Kante.
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahans Parivacharya Astotarasta Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahans Parivacharya Astotarasta Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय. नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोर धाम की जय. वृंदावन धाम की जय. मथुरा धाम की जय. मायापुर नगरी धाम की जय. जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. गंगा मई जमुना मई की जय. तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय. समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय. All glories assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Ekendra Prabhu, you were muted, that's why. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Haribol.
Thanks to all of you.
Krishna,
Thank you,
Krishna.
Maharaj.
Your voice sounds better.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And hopefully you can join us tomorrow night, same time, for Srimad Bhagavatam with Jayadvaita Swami and friends. Thank you, Maharaj. Shri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jayadvaita Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Samveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare Bol.
Free.
Hare Krishna.